Can a pilot with the caliber of Lewis Hamilton, after more than a decade dominating Formula One, adapt to a car that seems to be designed for a completely different driving style? The telemetry data of the Grand Prix of Great Britain 2025 not only shows their impressive adaptation capacity, but also reveal a harsh reality. Ferrari is much closer to their goals than we think. That is really happening on the track, and what this means for the future of Hamilton. Great Britain's Grand Prix marked a significant turning point for Lewis Hamilton and his relationship with Ferrari. This event was held in Silverstone, a circuit loaded with history and tradition, which has always been a special land for Hamilton. Not only for his love for this layout, but for the fact that his link with the Grand Prix of Great Britain has been forged throughout his career, with multiple victories and iconic moments. However, this 2025 was different. Now, as a Ferrari pilot, the expectations were immense, not only by the British audience, but for all F1 fans who saw in Hamilton a new opportunity for Ferrari, a historically competitive team but that has fought for consistency in recent years, would return to La Vanguardia. This Grand Prix, which was one of the most anticipated races of the season, not only represented an opportunity to demonstrate the progress of the SF-25, Ferrari's car for that season, but also to understand how Hamilton adapted to a completely different car from the one who was accustomed in Mercedes. Ferrari, a team with a rich story but also full of strategic errors and technical problems, had put their hopes in Hamilton to lead the load. Despite the tests and previous challenges, everything seemed to indicate that this weekend would be crucial to understand the reality of the relationship between the British pilot and his new team. The result, with a fourth final place, did not reflect what many expected from a pilot like Hamilton. Ferrari's performance, although improved in certain aspects, was still inconsistent compared to other teams such as McLaren and Red Bull. However, looking beyond the classification, it was seen that Hamilton's career was not only a fight against other pilots, but against the very nature of SF-25. This car had an unpredictable and very different character from that Hamilton had dominated in Mercedes, a much larger challenge than many had anticipated. The difficulties that Hamilton found behind the SF-25 steering wheel became evident in several points of the race. However, despite visible frustration, its performance and its ability to adapt to such a complex car provided flash of hope. In particular, the telemetry data, which detailed their ability to stop later than their teammate Charles Leclerc at key points of the circuit, suggested that Hamilton was beginning to understand the limits of SF-25, despite the difficulty that this implied. This not only showed the incredible ability of the pilot, but also the possibility that, over time, it could master the technical aspects that the Ferrari demanded. This Great Britain Grand Prix was not simply one more race in the Hamilton calendar, but one of the first real evidence of its adaptation to Ferrari. As the season advanced, it became clear that this season would be a roller coaster for both him and the team. With his winning mentality and his unparalleled experience, the question was no longer if Hamilton could make the SF-25 yield to the highest level, but how soon Ferrari could offer him a car that was up to his talent and ambition. The telemetry analysis from the Great Britain Grand Prix revealed a series of surprising details about Lewis Hamilton's performance aboard SF-25. Despite being still in the Ferrari car adaptation process, the data showed that Hamilton was making something that few in the paddock expected. He was maximizing the potential of the car in key circuit points. In particular, telemetry showed that Hamilton was able to stop much more late than his teammate Charles Leclerc in several sections of the layout, especially in curves 3 and 6, where the car required precise control and a perfect balance to avoid flying. Hamilton managed to stop between 3 and 4 meters later than Leclerc without compromising the stability of the car, an impressive achievement given the erratic behavior of the SF-25 in certain sectors of the circuit. This performance, qualified as clinically efficient by Ferrari engineers, is a clear indication that Hamilton was beginning to dominate some of the technical aspects of the SF-25 that at first seemed to be their greatest obstacle. Throughout the season, it was known that Hamilton had to adjust to a completely different driving style from the one that was accustomed to Mercedes, especially when it came to handling instability in high-speed areas and the particular demands of SF-25. Hamilton's ability to adapt so quickly to this new style, and especially to find so much time in late braking areas, was a testimony of his technical ability and deep knowledge of how to maximize any car with which he was working. Hamilton also described the car with a more technical tone, detailing the struggles with the balance of the SF-25. "The car simply has no stability," he said. These statements were not only a criticism of the car, but also a reference to the emotional challenges he faced to be accustomed to more stable and predictable cars, such as those that led in Mercedes for so many years. His description of the car making snap, snap, snap in the curves reflected the unpredictable nature of the SF-25 and how difficult it was to control in certain conditions. In the low-speed curves, Hamilton mentioned that the car does not like to turn, which put even more evidence the design limitations of the SF-25 and the differences compared to the Mercedes car, which was perfectly adapted to its driving style. These statements were even more shocking when Hamilton said that it simply does not remain still, referring to the difficulty of keeping the car stable in the curves, something fundamental in a circuit like Silverstone, which demands a lot of precision at the entrance and exit of the curves. This fight with the car, a car that he himself had described as extremely difficult to drive, became a tangible representation of what many thought it would be his biggest challenge by joining Ferrari, adapting not only to the team, but to the characteristics of a car that, in many ways, seemed to be designed for a driving style completely opposite to his. The technical challenges of the SF-25, Ferrari's car for the 2025 season, are one of the main barriers that Lewis Hamilton must overcome to completely adapt to his new team. The SF-25, although a fast car in the hands of pilots such as Charles Leclerc, shows characteristics that require a completely different approach to the driving style that Hamilton perfected over his years with Mercedes. While Mercedes has historically been a more stable car, with an aerodynamics that favors a more fluid and predictable driving, the SF-25 presents a series of peculiarities that make Hamilton's aggressive and precise style be challenged in almost all sections of the circuit. One of the most prominent features of the SF-25 is its instability in high-speed areas. While in his Mercedes, Hamilton was able to trust a car that was stuck to the ground, the SF-25, due to its design and aerodynamic characteristics, tends to show unpredictable behaviors. The lack of adhesion in rapid curves and the tendency to lose stability in changes of direction complicate the execution of high-performance maneuvers. For a pilot like Hamilton, who is accustomed to mastering these situations with more predictable cars, this type of behavior is a considerable technical challenge. During the Grand Briton, telemetry showed that, although Hamilton was able to achieve competitive times in late braking areas, in the fast curves, the SF-25 did not offer him the same confidence, which led him to waste time in sectors where other pilots, such as Leclerc, achieved a better performance. Another of the challenges inherent to the SF-25 is the distribution of its weight and the dynamics of the car, which makes the balance between the front and rear parts more delicate. While Hamilton has worked with cars that tend to be more neutral in this regard, SF-25 presents a behavior in which the rear can become too light at certain points of the curve. This characteristic causes the car to be more prone to flying, which requires a great ability to maintain control of the vehicle without losing speed. In this regard, Hamilton is forced to adjust his management technique, especially in the most demanding curves. The difference between its driving style and the one required by the SF-25 is clear. In Mercedes, Hamilton could carry a more linear and fast approach at the entrance of the curves, while with Ferrari it needs to be much softer and more delicate when introducing the car in the paths to prevent it from getting out of control. For Hamilton, this season is not only about overcoming the difficulties he faces with the car, but also to reaffirm his legacy in a team with which he has not had the opportunity to build a winning story yet. Despite visible frustration and technical difficulties, Hamilton has demonstrated in each race that his champion mentality remains intact. The ability to adapt to a car that does not naturally conform to its driving style, as evidenced by telemetry data, is one of Hamilton's greatest strengths. On the other hand, Ferrari has a fundamental role in this process. The team must continue to evolve the SF-25 and adapt to the demands of its new pilot, which has a leading approach very different from that of the pilots who preceded it. If Ferrari is able to adjust the balance of the car and offer Hamilton the performance it needs, especially in the rapid curves and in the management of the tires, not only will it improve the perspectives of the season, but also can face teams such as McLaren and Red Bull, which have dominated the 2025 season with cars that seem to be easier to handle and that fit the styles of their pilots. What should also be taken into account is the enormous experience and leadership that Hamilton brings to the team. Throughout his career, he has proven to be much more than an exceptional talent pilot. He has been a leader within his team, capable of directing the development of the car, influencing strategic decisions and making critical decisions in times of pressure. The challenge is now clear. Hamilton must find its rhythm with the SF-25 while Ferrari works to improve the car and provide the necessary tools to achieve maximum performance. Hamilton's future in Ferrari then depends on this mutual adaptation process.